What is up, guys? Stark here. I am back for another character spotlight, and in today's character spotlight we are taking a look at Hokusai. So with this being the first character spotlight of 2020, I did a few little minor adjustments to the character spotlight format, and you guys will see them when we get to it a little bit later on in the video. But I feel like I wanted to spice it up just a little bit. It's nothing groundbreaking. It still follows the same format. I just added two little extra things into the video to hopefully help you guys out a little bit more. But yeah, as I said, we are doing Hokusai, who is currently available on the game as of this recording, and she's going to be a 5-star foreigner, so she'll be the second foreigner in the game alongside Abigail Williams. And at level 90, she will have 13,245 HP and 12,100 attack, ranking her 30th overall in HP and 43rd overall in attack. Her star absorption is 153, her star generation is 15%, and her noble phantasm generation for her attacks is 0.33, and on defense it's 3%. So Hokusai is one of the most sought after servants of 2020, and for good reason. She can do a ton of damage and she has a really good set of skills. So her first skill is going to be the All Things in Nature A+, which will apply evasion to herself for 1 turn, as well as increasing her noble phantasm gauge. So this will give you a 30% increase to your gauge at level 10 on a 5-turn charge time, which is really nice, so it does have a lower cooldown for you to recycle it. The only real drawback to this skill is the fact that you might have to use the evasion when you don't want to use the gauge increase. So like if you're at 100% and it's not Noble Phantasm level 2, then you might be wasting your gauge increase because you won't get anything out of it. But more often than not, because it's a flat gauge increase, you shouldn't really have to worry too much about this. For her second skill, it's going to be the Father-Daughter Bond A. This will increase her arts card effectiveness for 3 turns. This will also increase her buff removal resistance for 1 turn, and this will also increase her debuff resistance for 1 turn. So this again is on a 5-turn charge time, which is actually really good for this skill. And the percentages are going to be 30% for your arts card effectiveness for 3 turns, 100% for your buff removal and your debuff resistance. So some pretty good percentages there. You're going to be doing a ton of damage with this skill, especially on your arts cards. And that is kind of where she excels at. She's basically an arts damage dealer, which is going to be fantastic. Being able to spam her Noble Phantasm is always a really good thing. And it has a low cooldown as well, which will help you use the skill more often. And her third and final skill is the pseudonym Isaidako B, which is a really unique skill, being able to decrease the defense of an enemy when attacking with your arts cards for 3 turns, and then that defense down will also last 3 turns. So it's a 20% decrease to the defense at max level on a 6-turn charge time, and you can actually stack this so you can get some pretty good stacks of defense down on the enemies, which will definitely help deal more damage overall when you're attacking. As for her passive, she has 4. The first one is the Entity of the Outer Realm EX, which will gain 2 critical stars every turn, and this will also increase debuff resistance by 12%. Her second one is Item Construction B, which will increase her debuff chance rate by 8%. Her third one is the Territory Creation D, which will increase her arts card effectiveness by 4%. And finally, she has the Divinity B, which will apply damage plus 175. So overall, taking a look at her skills, she has a pretty good set of skills in my opinion. She's able to do a ton of damage, she has a little bit of survivability, and she has a huge potential for decreasing the defense of the enemy. So overall, I will give her 4.5 stars in her skills. So now let's go ahead and take a look at her command cards and her Noble Phantasm. And for her command cards, this is going to be the first change that I've made to the character spotlights, so I do want your feedback in, if you think this is something I should keep doing going forward. But her command card deck consists of 1 quick, 2 arts, 2 busters, and her hit counts are going to be phenomenal, with 4 on the quick, 2 on the arts, 4 on the buster, and 4 on her extra attacks. So that 0.33 Noble Phantasm generation on her attack, which seemed really low, is going to be made up for with the high hit counts. So she's going to be able to generate her gauge pretty quickly. And you guys can see here the major change here. We have the command chains on the bottom portion of the image, and this will show you her 3 best command chains that she can do. So for like damage, it's going to be Buster Arts, Buster, Extra Attack for damage. Now the actual number for damage is subjective depending on what enemy you're going against, but this will give you the most damage output with just her by herself. For her Noble Phantasm gauge increase, you're going to have an arts chain, obviously. The grayed out arts card means it's for an ally, so you have an ally arts card go first, and then both of her arts cards follow up for a 52% increase to your Noble Phantasm gauge. So that's going to be really cool. You can almost fill your Noble Phantasm gauge halfway with just one attack, and then you have her skill to get 30% there as well. So that's going to be really cool and getting your gauge filled really fast. And then finally for stars, you want to go Arts, Buster Quick, and then extra for 15 total stars. So now for her Noble Phantasm. Her Noble Phantasm is a Arts card that will have 5 hits and deal damage to all enemies, a pretty good amount of damage there. And the overcharge effect will deal extra damage to human enemies at a pretty good margin as well. So this is a pretty good Noble Phantasm. It really doesn't have anything, special or flashy to it, but it will do a pretty solid amount of damage. And, if you stack all those defense downs onto the enemies before you use it, then you will be able to do a little bit of extra damage. And, the human class is pretty popular in the game as well, so you should be able to maximize the damage you can do there. And it is AoE, so it's really good for farming. And especially with Hokusai, considering you could potentially have her Noble Phantasm spammed multiple turns, that's really good for farming, because you could just use it wave 1 and then kill the enemies, bring it back, get it charged again for wave 2, kill the enemy team. As for her damage though, she is going to get 5 stars in damage output. She can do a ton of damage, especially with her arts cards, and that defense down is really nothing to sneeze at. You could do a ton of damage with that, especially if you stack it really high with when you're attacking with your arts cards. The only drawback to this though is she is primarily useful in arts decks, so you do have to build around that. But if you're doing a pretty sizable amount of damage with arts cards, then obviously you're going to focus on that to begin with. For her critical ability, I'm only going to give her 3.5 stars. She doesn't really have anything for crits. She does have natural good stats for her star absorption and star generation, so there is that, but she has no skills for crits at all. And honestly speaking, it's not really a big factor in her kit, but it will definitely help her, get her Noble Phantasm charged faster if you are landing those hits. So that's going to be really good, but she doesn't have any sort of skills for it. She does technically have her passive, which gets 2 stars per turn, but that's really, inconsequential. So 3.5 stars there. For her Noble Phantasm, she's going to get 5 stars, and this is more to do with the fact that she has really good Noble Phantasm generation and an instant Noble Phantasm charge, as opposed to the actual effect of her Noble Phantasm, but it is still really good, and you can also spam it. So combo all that together, 5 stars is right about where I feel like it should be. Her survivability is going to get 4 stars. She is a 5-star character, so she has high natural HP to begin with, and she also does have the evasion in her first skill, so that'll help keep her alive a little bit longer. She is also a foreigner, so she doesn't really have to worry too much about class advantages or disadvantages. So she is going to be pretty tough to kill, but she won't be overpowered in keeping herself alive. She can go down pretty fast in certain situations, but she does have a little bit to keep her alive. Her versatility will also see her get 4 stars. Again, as a foreigner, she doesn't have too much as far as class advantage or disadvantage goes, so sometimes you might want to opt to bring in a character that has a class advantage over her in order to get a little bit of extra damage. And she also does fall into the trap of being in an arts-oriented deck, with most of her abilities coming from her arts cards. But honestly speaking, that's not much of a huge drawback because it's arts, so you always want to get your Noble Phantasms charged, so there's a lot of different ways to incorporate her into teams in order for that to happen. But outside of that, she is pretty selfish. Her third skill is pretty good for support, being able to decrease the defense of the enemies. But yeah, she's pretty much a selfish character, but she can do a ton of damage, so she's definitely not a bad option to use as your damage dealer. So overall, she will get a 4.3 out of 5. She is a pretty good character in my opinion, one of the better characters in the game. Definitely glad that I pulled for her, so now I'm just working on leveling her up and using her to find some of the best teams to use for her. And then normally this is where I will end the video, but I do have a little bit of a new segment as well. Much like with the command chains, I have an extra segment here at the end, and this is basically going to tell you guys where you can get this character. So it does you a little good if you don't know where you can get the character, and hopefully this will help fix that. So as I said, as of recording, she's out already, so I'm not going to make a graphic for that. If you pull when this video goes live, she's out, so you can get her. But outside of this banner, she doesn't come back too often, but she does come back a few times. The first one is going to be in July for the 3rd anniversary banner. Now this is a guaranteed SSR banner, but it is also a paid banner, so you do have to test your luck with this one. You get one shot at it. But she is in the banner, so it is possible to get her, so I've included it. So you get this one, 15 state quartz. It should be the same for global. Hopefully it is. But yeah, like I said, guaranteed SSR paid banner. So that's the first one. After that, we're gonna skip to 2021. So, you know, that was your only other shot in 2020 to get her. So if you want her, I'd suggest pulling on this banner right now. But in 2021, we have, I believe this is the New Year's one, the New Year's event for 2021. But again, this is a paid banner only, 15 Saint Coins guaranteed SSR. A lot of characters are in this banner, so the odds of actually getting Hokusai on this banner is going to be very, very, very slim. So maybe not the one you want to wait on to pull for Hokusai. After that though, we do have the regular New Year's banner with Hokusai. So it has most of the characters from this year's banner with Hokusai, Gilgamesh, Skahak coming out, but it also does have some pretty good other characters too. You have Jalter, you have the Summer Nero Claudius, you have Cleopatra, and you also have Sigurd. So it's a pretty good list right there, but again, you're gonna have to wait a full year to try and pull for her again. So honestly speaking, if you want her, pull for her right now. She doesn't come back very often, and most of the times that she comes back is going to be in a paid banner. And then finally, there is a banner in August 2021. It's going to be for the 4th anniversary for Fate Grand Order, and this will give you a chance to get Hokusai again. This is not guaranteed SSR, not paid, so you do have a good opportunity there if you miss her every other chance. So there's some pretty good characters in there as well. It's basically an expanded version of the New Year's banner with more characters mixed into the bunch there. So that's up to you, but it is nice to know that there are some options if you miss them, but you're gonna have to wait a full year to go for that. A year and then some, really, because this one's in August. Alright guys, so that's it now. I hope you liked a few additions to the video. I know it's nothing special, but I do think it will add a little bit extra to these videos going forward. But let me know in the comments if you do enjoy them, or if you want me to get rid of them, or whatever you guys think. So yeah, if you liked the video, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, I have the links below to my Twitter, Twitch, Patreon, and Discord, so feel free to check those out. And I will leave you here with Hokusai's Noble Phantasm, and I will see you guys next time. 万象見通す検定北進より8個を擁護せし尊上の王よ渾身の一筆を収めた